I'm the oldest of 8 children. My parents were unskilled laborers. I was born in Tylertown, Mississippi. My parents moved when I was about 2 years old to New Orleans, Louisiana, so I was raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. And as the oldest of 8 children and both parents working, you can imagine the kind of responsibility you may have at a very early age. And so my mother used to leave me with this comment: your dad and I are off to work and you have to take care of the kids. I left New Orleans and everything that I was very familiar with and moved across country to Montana, Missoula, Montana, where I went to the University of Montana. It was the years that I like to caption as growing years because you get to experience things that are different from what you learned as you were growing up. You know, those years also really gave me the opportunity to learn so much about not just myself, but about the world around me. I graduated and then got my first job with the predecessor to U.S. Bank, which is known as First Bank System. From there, I was promoted in various different areas in the retail consumer lending space. And then I finally got an opportunity to go to the business banking side of things, where I became a credit analyst. And so I learned a lot about financing on the business side of things. That really piqued my interest to want to learn more and more and more. I eventually, in my career with First Bank System, ended up being a president of a market for First Bank System, which was South Minneapolis, and there were 4 banks under my leadership. And so that was the first time that I got the position of president, the title of president behind my name. It was also the first time I learned that I wanted to do something more. And so I wanted to contribute a little more, and that was then the first time that I started to volunteer for certain organizations and sitting on their committees first and then their boards. And it quickly became a passion of mine, is to really give back in such a phenomenal way. Then was recruited to run Franklin National Bank, which is a community bank that's now evolved into being Sunrise Community Bank. I became the president and CEO in 1999. So I became the president and CEO of that bank, and what it did for me was to broaden my experience with not-for-profit organizations across the board, and making the realization of how needed these community groups are. My journey in the professional space ended with me leaving Federal Reserve Bank, retiring from there in 2018. And from there, you don't ride off into the sunset and never to be heard from again. My career has taken a different turn, and that is to sit on corporate board. And so I'm a board of director of U.S. Bancorp. The mentor that was the most impactful are the ones that are closest to me, and those were my parents. And the thing that I learned from them was this perseverance and really disciplining yourself to achieve success. The trials of being an unskilled laborer, not finishing even grade school, having to live in a society that, quite frankly, is racist, and having to overcome all of those hurdles and still have the energy and the mindset to raise 8 children. I mean, that was pretty spectacular. The fact that, you know, my own family history and having to face, hostility and racism when my cousin Ruby Bridges integrated the schools in New Orleans, Louisiana, and how we all came together. You can't help but be motivated by that and want in some way to be a part of that success for generations to come. The other reason that I am motivated to succeed is because I want to set an example for my children. My mantra is leave things better than how you found them, especially people. And that's how I want to be remembered. Having this notion that each and every day you get up and you get energized because you want to make the world better, you want to make people around you better by what you do, by your own actions. It really does shape how you respond to things. And so that's what I want to be remembered for. Leaving things better than how I found them, especially people.